You have to attack strongly, consistently, constantly, and just with so much drive that it just takes the spirit out of break the person's soul, the guy that you're fighting.
And he is the former IBF featherweight champion of the world, Dorsey.
All right there, ladies and gentlemen, you see we have an exciting show for you today. Welcome to another edition of Johnny Davis Live. As you see the man with the plan getting his action on there in the other screen, Mr. Troy Dorsey. That's right. Woohoo! We got the man with the plan today. We're going to have a great time, guys. Have a great conversation. Hope you guys are having a good time out there as well. Doing a lot of things that are going on in the world. But today, our world champion, he's a former boxing world champion, kickboxing world champion, karate world champion, Mr. Troy Dorsey out of Mansfield, Texas, is going to be here with us today. And I tell you, we're looking for a great conversation with him today, guys. So we're not going to waste a lot of time. We know we got a lot of things that we could always talk about. But without any further ado, guys, I want to go ahead and introduce a man to you that I think that you're going to enjoy listening to. He's a man of faith. He's been through ups and downs, peaks and valleys, all of those things. But you know what? I think that is the way you get wisdom and knowledge, right? And he's going to share those things with you today. We always want to thank our sponsors, Wearawig.Club at Wearawig.Club. Guys, check it out for some great wigs. Hey, you never know when you might need to wear that wig. Also, Eastern Offset Printing out of, Atlantic Beach, North Carolina. Be sure to give them a call for all your printing needs as well. So without any further ado, let's bring up the one and the only Troy Dorsey. How you doing, man?
Hello, sir, everybody out there. Thank you so much for having me on today. I really appreciate that.
Absolutely, absolutely, man. It's so great to have you on today and everything. And as we go forward, anybody who wants to make comments or anything as you come on, please do, and say hello to the champ, no doubt about it. Listen, it's a pleasure having you on today. I was a big fan of yours and watching you fight, back in the day. And when I saw you out there, it was just kind of somebody to watch. Does that make sense?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. When you know somebody, it means more usually.
Yeah, it does. It kind of makes you, kind of really pay attention to what's going on, in the fight world and stuff. And you were one of those people that we certainly watch. But I want to just kind of take a few minutes here just to kind of get reacquainted with you and about what do you have going on right now. Tell us a little bit about some of the things that you have going on right now. And we're going to go kind of up and down in the interview, but we have a line of questioning that we're going to dig into some things, okay?
Okay. Yes, sir. So I started karate in '74, and just flash forward to where we're at right now. I teach karate, have a karate school, and I'm running a kickboxing organization, Dorsey's Karate. I'm sorry, Dorsey Kickboxing Organization. You can go to our Facebook page and see what we're doing there, helping out school owners teach kickboxing, both contact and non-contact. So it's a great sport. It's a great way to get in shape, to burn calories, and to defend yourself if you have to.
Right. You know, you've been an instructor for a long time. That's one of the things I kind of want to talk about up front. What do you get so much out of teaching, Troy?
Well, I've always loved it, and you get what you put into it, right? So
right.
I'm at the. I want to change people's lives. I want to help people change their lives, and it's also a reminder when I'm teaching the classes and I'm talking about respect, and I'm talking about self-control, and I'm talking about certain things like that. It makes me think about the person that I am. Am I a double talker? Do I say, don't do this, do this, and do this, and don't do this, and then I leave and I get, it's challenging. So it really makes me think as I'm teaching those things. Like I said, am I a double talker or I'm a straight talker? So I really focus on being that way, and I want to try to improve my students' lives. Both physically, of course, but there's so much more that's in here. This is where it all starts here. To get the body in shape, it has to start right here. And for the mind to be in good shape, that is so important.
Right. I got Bill Taylor's on today too, and he's asking a question that I'm going to ask you. I'm going to ask him a little bit later, Bill. So hang in on the show. I'm going to ask him that question a little bit later on. That's certainly on my list. Right. Yeah. So, we're going to have a lot of people, but if you have comments, guys, go ahead and bring them up. We will love to see them. What is it? How did you survive this COVID-19 thing, man? I mean, this has been crazy for a lot of people. How did that work out for you?
Yes, sir. Well, our school is down a little bit, but we're going to come back and we're going to make it through it. Just like we made it through everything else. The Lord is going to help me get through it. I'm a believer in Jesus Christ, and I believe that all things happen for a reason, and that He's going to take care of me. Whether I stay in business and I flourish, or maybe I still have a difficult time, or who knows? Who knows what happened? But I know the one who does know, and I'm leaning on Him to get me through it.
Right. So your faith and everything is definitely pulling you through on this because it's certainly been tough times for a long time. Hey, there's a blast from the past right there.
Yeah.
Robert Visitation, man. What do you think about Robert?
Oh, I like that guy. He lives in my area. He has a school that's near mine. He has the MMA school. So yes, sir, I like old Robert. He fought my brother, so I didn't like him. I didn't like him a long time. He was my enemy because he fought my brother. But he's been to my school several times, and we've talked, and we never fought it out. We didn't have to fight it out. We're friends, and he's a friend of mine. Yes, sir. And I have much respect for him and all of his accolades and the things that he's doing now also.
Right. Well, I'm going to deal with some of the guests who are popping in out here. So I have a line of questioning, but there are a lot of these guys are jumping on. One of the things I did want to mention to you about this young man right here, Ty Garrett, right? He is one of your students, is he not?
Oh, yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Right. Tell me a little bit about Ty.
Well, he is an Amarillo, and one of my students who actually got their black belt with my wife. My wife Leslie got a black belt in 1991. Mark Sturkey also received his black belt that day, and he moved to Amarillo. So when he moved to Amarillo, he was looking for a karate school to train at, and he started working out with Mr. Ty Garrett there in Amarillo. And so then ever since he started working out with him, I guess a couple of years later, I went up there and I tested Mr. Garrett for his, I believe, 4th degree black belt and 5th degree black belt, and training him in how to box and how to kickbox. He's a champion kickboxer also. And like you said, I think, do you call it light contact kickboxing? What did you call it?
we have the Point Kickboxing and Point Muay Thai, right? That's my company, my organization, and all. And but what I remember about Mr. Ty Garrett, he came down to one of my events,
Right.
and he fought in it. And I never forget he was like undefeated, like 13-0, 14. He was just really. He fought some of the toughest guys in the tournament, right? When he came down. And he went back, and I remember when he put on Facebook, and I haven't forgotten that, and he's been one of my favorites since. And he said that my tournament, the way I do it, I have a specially designed tournament. It's very different than other tournaments, right? That he said it was one of the toughest tournaments he had ever fought in, ever. And this is an undefeated fighter, right? Who said that. So I'm very proud of the fact he said one of the things I want to kind of tilt to. Troy, was about respect. You as an instructor, right? You teach a lot about respect, right? And it's a big thing in our sport. Why do you think it seems to be missing, or something's going on today when it comes to that word? And I see a lot of martial artists who are online, who are calling people names, doing all kinds of crazy things. Have we lost that value of respect in our sport?
I think the more we go, that it's just going to get worse. The book that I read, the Bible that I'm talking about, doesn't say that it's going to get any better. And that's where we get respect right there from our Lord Jesus. He said, treat others the way that you want to be treated. And you've been very kind to me. Mr. David, we spoke a couple of times before this, and we have differences, but that's okay. I still love you. Right. So yeah, respect is a dying attribute. Yeah. So, so again, I'm teaching my students. At the same time I'm teaching, I have to listen, and it makes me think: am I really doing what I should be doing? Treating my wife with respect, my kids with respect, my friends with respect, my parents. And
what about people you don't know?
And the people that you don't know. Yeah, that's it. It's a challenge. It's not easy. But what is easy? Nothing, anything that is good. My marriage, I don't want to compare my marriage to anything else, but like my business, my friendships, all of that, it takes work. It takes effort. And I heard someone ask me one time, what's the biggest room in the house, Troy? And and I'm like, of course. I said the living room. They said, no, it's the room for improvement. So that's got me on a path right there of things I need to do. I need to constantly improve. I know you've heard I think it's constant and never-ending improvement. That's what we all should be striving to do that. And some of our leaders aren't doing that. Some of our people that are the athletes, famous pro athletes, they're not doing it. There are some that are doing it, of course. I'm not trying to crash anybody or pick on one particular area. But those professional athletes, they have a lot of influence. They have a lot. Oh, there it is. The influence. Well, I don't care what people think about me. That's what some of them say, and they don't care what they do. They don't care necessarily what they do or what they don't do. They're not concerned about others. Right. And I think that's they're not. Yeah,
but that's interesting, and I hear you. You're right. We're gonna go to that about you though at a time maybe in your life, right? That things maybe were a little bit different. We're gonna get to that in just a minute. But really quick before we go into that, I want to ask you with the MMA climate going on today, right? MMA, it kind of does it all, you do jiu-jitsu. You're a black belt in jiu-jitsu, correct?
Yes, sir.
Wow. And boy, you're a bad man. You're a bad man. All right. Right. So, but in the climate of MMA today, how do you think you would fare if not what was going on back in your day?
Well, of course, I would have loved to have been a UFC world champion. And I just talked to my wife about 30 minutes ago about that. and she still won't let me do it. So,
well, no, come on. All right. Well, speaking of that, do you still have a little bug to fight?
do I have what?
A little bug.
Oh, no, I've got the big bug. I've got the big bug. I was still.
So you're saying that thing that Mike Tyson is talking about the other folks,
yeah.
like older folks? Are you considering that, Troy?
No. Like I said,
Oh.
my wife has the brains in the family, so I don't want to put her through that. I want to put my parents through that. I want to put my brothers through that. So it was, my fighting career was not all great. I got busted up, or I was busted up. I got cut up. I went through some pretty bad beatings, and so no, I would like to go back, but the little smartness that I do have left tells me, Troy, no, you're over. Your time. Right. You had your time in the ring, and now it's time to keep moving forward and to keep helping people, pointing people in the right direction, and in this difficult time, even though we closed our school, the state had us close our school for 2 months. So the businesses all around the country gone. We're closed for 2 months. Right. So we're just we're going to fight back and get back up there where we need to be.
Right. Might even be bigger. Might even be better. Troy, let me ask you a question. Okay, we're going to digress just a little bit and go back a little bit. Enjoy Dorsey's childhood. Right. I just want to know a little bit about how you grew up. I mean, what, the kind of things what kind of life did you have? Brothers, sisters, what kind of neighborhoods?
Well, my poor mother, I have 2 brothers. So she had 3 boys, and she had my dad, of course, and they're still alive and married. And my dad is going to turn 80 in December 25th.
Wow.
At the same day, Heavenly Father. Yes, sir. So I'm very fortunate to have them. And what was your question?
Well, the question's about, just tell me a little bit about how you were raised and what type of environment, neighborhood, etc.
Well, I was born and raised here in Mansfield, Texas. That's where I live now. Okay. And it was a real small town at that time. And my dad was a really hard worker. And so I've seen what working hard does. And even though maybe sometimes it doesn't bring success, even though it doesn't always seem to bring money, or it doesn't seem to bring this, it's hard work. I learned hard work from my parents. Both my mom and dad worked all the way through to help give their boys. I have 2 brothers, Rodney and Brian, to give us all that they could. And I know they busted their rear end doing that. So I saw that I had great role models. And I had great influence in my life, my parents, and I'm just forever ever grateful for that. So,
do they also live in Mansfield still?
I'm sorry.
Do they live in Mansfield as well?
Yes, sir. They still live in Mansfield. They lived in a house that they built when I was 10 years old.
Wow.
47 years ago, they moved into that house. They still live there on an acre of land just outside of Mansfield.
You sound very grateful to your parents. What do you think about people who seemingly forget about their parents as they get older? They don't give them the respect. They don't. They're not there for them. What do you think about people who do that?
Well, I want to comment real heavily on that and just say that, that's really sad that they forget so quickly, and that they don't pay respect and kindness and love to the parents. And they wouldn't. I wouldn't be here where I am, and other people, they wouldn't be where they're at. And I just want to encourage, of course, my dad made mistakes. My mother made mistakes, but the great things they did for me so far outweighs the mistakes. So maybe these children my age, maybe they're holding their parents. They're upset at their parents still for something 20 days ago, 20 years ago, whatever it may be. So I say forgive and move on. Move on. Don't look back. Look forward. The Bible even has a verse that says, "Press forward to the mark of the high calling of Jesus Christ."
Right.
Lot's wife Sarah, she turned around and she looked back. Guess what she did?
Turned to stone.
turn a pillar of salt.
I think I read that somewhere.
Yeah, yeah, that's from the Bible, and you know it.
Right.
It's such a popular. I mean, it's the truth, though. Do you believe in that? Yeah, you look forward. You don't look back.
And you know what my favorite saying is on Ty Garrett. Ty Garrett, if he's watching, he can probably tell. You can probably type that in right now. You know my favorite saying. I've been doing it for years, many years. Forward march.
What did you say?
Forward march.
Forward march. Oh, I like that.
Right. That's one of my favorites. I use it almost all the time. Hey, but as a father today, right? What do you think some of the greatest lessons that you learned from your dad and your mom's relationship about the type of dad and maybe even husband that you are today?
Well, the first thing that I knew about my parents was love. So lovers covers everything, and so that's what I would say. That we have to give that to our children. We don't have to, but see, we have. My daughters today, my daughter Kendra, my daughter Shelly, if they interview them today and they said, do your kids love you? Well, I would hope that they would say,
right.
So, love is an action word. I don't make them love me.
Right.
I can't make anybody love me. I've tried to do that before. It doesn't work. So anyways.
It didn't work out.
So
I think we've all might have tried that. We've all might have tried that, Troy. Well, look, let's transition a little bit. Tell me what decision was it that made you finally get into martial arts? Was it just something you were walking down the street and say, "Hey, I want to try that"? How did that play out?
Well, let me finish up one thing about the love. Love is time. The more time you give your children, the more time you give your wife, the more time you give whatever it is that you're giving it to. Yeah. So be present. Okay.
Yes. That's very important. That's well spoken. Well spoken. So your decision to get in martial arts, where did that come from? Well,
I was in the 5th grade, and I was getting picked on.
Bully story.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So my dad started my brothers and I in karate in the summer of 1974. So, and I just loved it ever since then. 2 weeks after I was in karate, we fought in our first tournament, and my one brother, he won 2nd place. My other brother won, I think, 4th or 5th, and me, I won nothing. So all through karate up until for the first 5 or 6 years, I was losing. I wasn't getting anywhere, but my brothers, they were winning. And I don't know if it really encouraged me, but I guess it did encourage me. Okay, I got to keep on swinging. I got to keep on swinging.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. A lot of people have met you, but you're not a big guy. You were not a big guy when you were fighting. No. It's kind of small. You only fought like at 132 pounds, right?
Only 132.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Hold on. There you go. Hold on. It was 124.9 in kickboxing.
No way! Oh my gosh! I added some pounds. Oh my gosh! So listen. So you were a small guy, right? Yes, so how did that play into your psychic, right? About maybe defending yourself, or about I don't want to say the little guy complex or whatever, about trying to prove yourself and things like that. How did that play into your psychic and actually becoming a fighter?
I don't think it ever played that into my psychic, into my mind like that. But it just one thing led to the next. I fought in the karate tournament 2 weeks after I started, and I wanted to be a better fighter. And then I started doing okay in point fighting. Then I saw kickboxing, and I fell in love with kickboxing.
It was over at that point, huh?
Yes, sir. So Demetrius Havanis, the Greek. Do you ever hear about Demetrius Havanis? Do you remember him?
Demetrius, of course. Yeah, I think he got killed, unfortunately, in like a airplane crash.
Yeah, airplane crash. Yes, sir. Him. Which I consider Demetrius one of my coaches, one of my instructors, and also DK Price was flying the plane. He was a good friend of mine. He worked out at the school that I worked out at, and was our cut man. So he worked my school up until that time. Yes, sir. So that was in 1981, and in July when they passed away. So that was a very sad. And also Hillary Sandoval, which was my kickboxing manager the last probably 10 years of my career. His brother was on that plane, Tony Sanders.
Wow.
Yeah, so it's a really small world how all that came together.
Yeah, but you know, Demetrius, he was also a small person. He was small and like all muscle, like he was like a ball of muscle, right?
Oh, yeah. He was my hero, and he still is my hero. He was an unbelievable fighter. So I
remember reading about him in Black Belt magazine and stuff like that. And you know, again, all those guys I idolized as well. I was that little kid, you know, getting in the corner, getting in trouble in school, reading the Black Belt magazine instead of doing my work, right? You know.
Yeah.
You know, there was a time after you got into martial arts, though, maybe as a teenager, I don't know, that you said you kind of got off track a little bit, right? So I want to talk a little bit about when did that happen? Was that when you were a teenager or later on in life?
Oh, when I was 16. When I was 16, I got my car. I went to work. I bought me a car, a '67 Mustang for $450.
Oh.
So then I had some friends, and I started drinking alcohol. And then when I was 18 years old, I got introduced to cocaine, and I continued to do that until 1998. So in 1998, I rededicated my life to the Lord, and I quit drinking and I quit doing drugs. So I was on a roller coaster. I was on a roller coaster. But how old was I then? 35.
Oh, hold on now. That's a little bit of a gap. So you're saying about 12, 13, 14, 15 years?
What do you mean?
Of living that life of, you know, drugs.
From 18 to 35. So that's 17 years. Yes, sir.
Wow. Yeah. A lot of lessons in that. How much did peer pressure play in you doing the things that you were doing back in the day?
I don't think there was any peer pressure. I just went with the flow of the things that some of the people that were hanging out with were doing. And I was raised in church. I got saved when I was 10. I rededicated my life 25 years later. But I just kind of went along with the flow, and it is.
But Troy, isn't that kind of peer pressure though? You know, if you say going along with the flow, because right. I mean, there are decisions that with my friends. I will tell you that. Fortunately for me, I didn't go in that route. You know, in the addiction route and all. But I respect people who've gone through that. But you know, I remember though, because of my martial arts, it made me say, no, I'm not going to smoke. No, I'm not going to drink. No, I'm not going to hang out at the club too late because I got to go and train tomorrow. And why do you think? What do you think about that you didn't get that message?
I was just listening to the other person. I was listening to the enemy, and I was doing what he was telling me to do instead of what I should have been doing, and the way that I was raised, and it just was. I was just falling into the traps of the enemy.
Well, I just want to make a quick comment here. Jessica comes on, so I guess she knows you. She said, Troy is a great role model, instructor, and fighter. Love getting to learn more about him. All right, so awesome. Thanks for joining us today, Jessica. Do you know her?
Jessica, I don't see I can't see the picture.
Well, I know the last name is like Virtual. I'm not even going to try that.
Okay, I think she's one of Ty Garrett's students and staff members.
Yeah, awesome. Well, she has some really nice things to say about you. No doubt about that, for sure. Okay, so you went through a tough time. You were out there. You did your thing. You know, there were some things that you obviously felt that were wrong. You know that you were doing things that were wrong. But tell me a little bit about what was your tool to overcome addiction? Now, I know you brought Christ into your life, but was there something in particular that made you say that this is just not the right path?
Well, there was. I went to NA meeting. I went to 1. I went to AA meeting. I went to 2. And then that wasn't for me. So it was at the same time I had rededicated my life to the Lord, and it was Him. It was Jesus Christ that brought me through it so that I quit drinking. I just cold turkey quit drinking, and I cold turkey quit doing speed and cocaine. So that was I just quit cold turkey.
Now listen,
the Lord gave me. I didn't have any craving. I didn't have any want to. I didn't have nothing to do with I didn't want anything to do with those things.
Power of the mind and the heart.
What'd you say?
The power of the mind and the heart.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Your heart can lead you, and it led me down the wrong path for a long time.
Yeah,
but,
I'm always interested though in the idea about. I had a friend of mine, well, you know, one of the fighters who you know as well. I mentioned to him, Fernando Calleros, and I had him on a while back, right? He had a great story to tell. You know, he's had the addiction, the abuse, and prison time, all these kind of things that he'd gone through. And one of the things he said when he went to the AA, they say that you need to continue to say that you are an addict forever, for the rest of your life, right?
No,
do you agree with that?
No.
I don't agree with that either.
No. Okay. What'd you say?
Tell us what your thoughts are on that one. The fact that these people say the first thing they need to say is that I'm an addict, and they're supposed to say that all of their lives because they're afraid of going back into that life. What are your thoughts?
Well, to me, it's a negative thing. Yeah. And you're putting those negative things in your mind, and you're saying that, okay, I'm this way, and that's it. No. We are made and created by God, and we get to make a choice. I get choice 1 or I get choice 2. It's either good or it's bad. That's it. Right. So yeah, we're not hung up into being a bad person. We're not hung up in being whatever it may be, drugs or alcohol or porn or whatever it may be. No, that stuff. We all could have trouble with a lot of things, yes. But we make choices. You have this television program. This morning you had a choice to get up and do what you need to do to get ready for it. Every day you have a free choice to do what you want to do and to try to make your life and other lives like mine better. So that's what we should be doing.
You know, a lot of us go through a lot of things, and one of the things that you and I kind of talked about the other day, just in general, as we were preparing for this interview, was about having someone in your life who supports you, someone who empowers you, encourages you, are there when you're up and are there when you're down. I'm talking about your wife, right?
Yes.
So I want you to tell me a little bit about how special this lady is to you and how she's been in your life.
Well, I met her in 1982, February 1982 is when I met her. We started dating then. We got married in 86. And so she was with me through pretty much every fight, through my school, my business. She helped me open up. If it wasn't for her, I wouldn't be in Mansfield right now.
Wow.
I didn't move my school. I just had one of my students run my school in Dallas, and I started opening up my school here in Mansfield. But it was only by the grace of God and that my wife was able to help me financially buy a building. Right. And that's where it is right now. So she has been with me. She supported me through. She's seen me get the Hades beat out of me. She's seen me busted up, and she's seen me high. She's seen me low. And oftentimes, who do you take out? Who do you take it out on? Who do you take it out on when you're going through tough times or whatever it may be? Well, it usually is the people that's closest to you, which I know I've taken. My wife has taken a lot of stuff from me. Not good. So the way I've treated her and the way that I was behaving towards her, or the thing that I was saying towards her, but she cooked the meals for me. You know, you can't, when you train to fight, and I fought at 124.9, then at 126 in boxing, and then at anyways, whatever it was, I would usually weigh around 140. So I have to lose 15, 20 pounds. So she cooked. She took care of the kids. She took care of the house so that I didn't have to worry about anything except the guy that I was fighting.
What do you do today to try to repay her for that loyalty and standing by you? I mean, how do you treat her today, and what is that relationship like today?
Well, I'm still making mistakes, just so that you know, I'm still making mistakes, but I try to treat her with love. I try to remind her how much that I do love her, and I try to show it, and I write little notes to her, and just try to let her know how much.
You're writing notes?
Yeah. Yes, sir.
Tell us a little bit what's on those notes, man. Come on. What do you?
Okay.
Is that a
Okay.
setup for something later?
Well, hey, Leslie, where's that note? I just wrote it a couple of days ago. I think it was on the counter here the other day. It was something like I was saying that I love you so much I wouldn't be where I am and I wouldn't be happy as I am if it wasn't for you. Something like that. Where's it at? Where's it at?
Wow.
Okay. Wait. Here it is right here. Leslie, words cannot express my love for you. Troy Dorsey, 9/14/2020.
Wow. So you around there, brother, all hardcore as a fighter, but all soft, and writing love notes to your wife today.
Yes, sir.
That is a good lesson for a lot of us. Yeah. We have to try that. Hey, let me make a note of that right now.
Make a note.
I want to
make a note of my notes.
Yes.
There it is right there.
Yeah. The words cannot express my love for you. Okay, I'm giving that to my wife. maybe it'll help. Listen,
you told me.
Huh?
You told me you've been married. You got married September 27th in 1986.
Yes.
And I did also. So we
have so much in common. You know, ups and downs, peaks and valleys over the 30-some years. You can believe that. But I have a true belief in that people need to try to work it out and stay together. They're so quick, to go their separate directions and stuff like that. And sometimes, life is just not easy, but it's nothing like knowing that you have somebody that have your back, whatever you go through, and then you can hang in there. I always say there's a 60-40 concept. I'd rather someone that I know 60% of them is good and the relationship is good than starting at zero with somebody else. That's been my philosophy.
Right. Yes,
and I had to do that too, by the way.
Yep.
I want to transition a little bit now. I told you my interviews are kind of like this, right? And but I want to talk a little bit about your kickboxing and from the karate world, right? Where you were doing the point karate. What was that opportunity like to get your first fight in the ring?
Oh, it was great. I like I said, I idolized. Hero was Demetrius Vanis, and he promoted fights in Dallas at the Anatole Hotel. It's a really super nice hotel. And I went to go watch those fights. And when I watched those fights, ever since then, I was hooked. I got to do this.
What do you think? Let's go a little deeper. What do you think it was about really fighting and trying to knock somebody out? What was it in your psychic that you think that kind of, because I had it too, right? I had to get it. I got it later, but what was it in your psychic that says, oh, that feels good? Now, a lot of people say, oh, that's brutal. Well, you said, oh, man, that feels good.
Well, it wasn't necessarily, I mean, yes, it's in the business of hurting people, but it wasn't that inspired me. It was just that the competition. It was me or you. It's, I have my coaches, I have my parents, I have my wife, I have whatever it is you have, but it's when you're in the ring, it's just you. And the challenge, I guess, that it was, and then I think God put me on this earth to be a fighter, just like He put you on this earth to be a fighter. But there are so many other ways to fight. There are people that fight like what we fight, and then there are people that are great doctors and great dentists. They're fighting to help people have good health in their teeth, and the doctors are fighting to have good health overall. And I think anything that anybody does, you're fighting to do it for others.
Right.
That's right. We're doing that for others.
We're all fighters.
Yes, sir.
We're all fighters. Well, let me ask you a question. When you were actually doing kickboxing, we'll talk about boxing in a minute, but when you were doing kickboxing, did any one of those fights stand out to you as maybe one of your toughest and perhaps where you learned the most from? Whether you won it or lost, it doesn't matter.
Yeah, well, I fought Randy Fawcett in Louisiana, and I slacked off a little on the training and just thinking that I was going to be okay. And then I fought him, and I barely made weight. I barely won the fight. And then I came back and fought him again several months later, and it was, I trained hard. I ate I ate hard. I thought hard. So you had to, all these things in fighting. It's not just the kicking and punching, but you had to think like a champion. To be a champion, you had to think like a champion, train like a champion, and be that way.
Right.
So,
you had a tremendous career as a kickboxer. I mean, you only lost 2 fights in your whole career, right? As a kickboxer and everything.
Yes.
Somewhere along the line, you transitioned into boxing. Or were you boxing all along, or did you just completely just transition into mostly boxing, or were you doing both?
No, sir. What I did is I started training for kickboxing in '79. In '82, so I guess 3 years later, I started going to a boxing gym. My uncle Gary Hammond's here in Mansfield. He's still here, and he has actually it's my mom's sister who married Gary. So that he's my uncle, and he knew a boxing coach, and he introduced me to him. Casey Malone was his name, and he trained his son in boxing, but he was also at Gorman's Super Pros boxing, where Don Curry. Do you remember Don Curry?
Yeah, Don Curry. Yeah.
Yeah, Gene Hatcher and Stevie Cruz. So I started training with those guys. Actually, I trained with Gene Hatcher, sparred him, and I trained with Stevie Cruz. I was fortunate enough to be able to be one of the sparring partners. And when he won his world title against Barry McGuigan at Caesar's Palace.
Oh,
man. So he won the title. I think it was in '83, and then I won the world title at Caesar's Palace in '91.
Wow, so how ironic is that?
Oh, that is something else. Yes, sir.
Crazy. So, some of the people in kickboxing or Muay Thai, they think that, boxing, it must be easier because you only have 4 weapons, right? Right? That you're using.
Only have 2 weapons, you mean? Yeah.
Well, yeah, exactly, right. You only have 2 weapons, but I guess I'm thinking 4 punches or 4 or 5 punches, right, for the most part, right? I disagree with boxing is easier. And what are your thoughts on that? Because I don't agree that boxing is easier.
No, sir, I do not. I totally agree with you. Now, I've never done kicking to the legs, just waist up American kickboxing. That kickboxing is harder than waist up boxing. I've done them both. I had 33 boxing matches, pro boxing matches, and I had 35 kickboxing matches. So getting kicked is a whole lot tougher than getting punched. And throwing a kick it's more difficult. So you have to be in better. I think you have to be in better shape to be a kickboxer. But
the actual standing in somebody's face, right? Knowing that you're right there, nowhere to go. You don't have that same distance, right? And also boxers punch differently, than kickboxers. A lot of kickboxers learn how to kick first. They don't learn how to box. Boxer spends all of his time in the gym just working on like 4 punches, basically, right? 4 or 5, maybe, right? And and so they really know how to hit and really know how to drop those punches really hard. I find boxing much harder than kickboxing, or Muay Thai.
Oh yeah, okay.
I do. That's me. That's me personally. And all in all, hey, get it. Well, I can't. You've been in front of both. I mean, so whatever you say, whatever you say, give me some of the names, because I saw one person, Oscar De La Hoya.
Yes, sir.
You fought Oscar De La Hoya early on. Tell me, what was your impression of Oscar back then?
Well, I fought him, and we at the end of the first round. So during the first round, I got cut, and at the end of the first round, we went back to our corner, and the referee came to the corner. He looked at my cut, and he stopped the fight. Wow. I jumped up out of the stool. I knew they stopped it because he is the golden boy. He's Oscar De La Hoya. I knew that was the case. Right. But then when I went into the dressing room, I saw it was a 2-inch gash.
Yeah, I know. I saw it.
It was very bad.
Right. So you understand they were taking care of you.
Yes, sir. They were taking care of me. So not only did he cut me there, so I had to get that stitched up. And the doctor who was stitching me up in Las Vegas said there's a surgery that you can have where they cut you from here to here. You can see the scar.
Right.
Maybe can't. Anyways, I didn't have it then. In November, I had that surgery where they pulled down the skin to the edge of my eyes, and they make this cut.
Oh my gosh, are you serious?
And they shave the bones here to make them smoother so that it wouldn't get cut. And they put it back up, and then I fought 95, 96, 97, 98. I won one more world title in boxing. I think 2 more in kickboxing. And then I got cut in 98. I was 35 years old. So it was like, well, like I said, I put my wife through heck and my parents, and it's time to give it up. I've had enough. I had 68 fights.
Right.
So, and then when Oscar De La Hoya retired, they called me, Ring Magazine. I was thinking, why are they calling me? Because he fought so many more famous people, and one went on to win. I don't know how many world titles he won, but they said, well, he broke his hand on when he was fighting. He broke his hand punching you in the head, and we wanted to find out. And they said he had to punch differently for the rest of his career because he hurt it. Yeah. So
did anybody ever tell you had a hard head, Troy? I don't.
Well, it was my mom first, and my dad, and then third was my wife, and she reminds me about that every 6 or 7 times a day. So
now, listen, while you were boxing, at the end of one of your boxing matches, and I saw you do this, you actually threw a kick.
Oh yeah.
At the end, after the match, you knocked the guy out and you threw a kick. Now, so the question is, what was the message for doing that? Because there had to be a message of why you did that.
Well, I'm a karate fighter. I'm a martial artist. That was it. I want to see that. I believe it was after I won the world title in boxing that I did that. I can't remember exactly. Yeah. If someone looks it up and it's not there, I can't remember exactly. But I remember, hey, karate fighters can fight, just like Johnny Davis. He can fight, and they can do any kind of fighting, boxing, whatever it may be. So yeah, that was a statement saying that, okay, look at this. I got my boxing gloves on. I got my boxing shoes on. Look at this sidekick.
Exactly. Yeah. I knew that was a message and everything, because it was a thing that kickboxers couldn't really box. And to be honest, a lot of them couldn't, right? A lot of them had more kicks, and they didn't never. I had to get to the boxing gym to really get my hands down, right? It took me a while, but I eventually did get them down, stuff. So I knew that when you threw the kick at the end of that boxing match, that it was like, okay, this is the message. I told you I could punch and stuff like that. Yeah. That was absolutely so good. Now, you mentioned earlier about the surgery that you did on your face and stuff, which is really traumatic and pretty big move. But I want to talk about your health today as a fighter. About how are you taking care of yourself? What aches do you have? What kind of pains do you have? Do you have any regrets for actually fighting the way you fought?
No, I don't. It wouldn't. I'm who I am today because of what I did back then, pretty much. So no, I'm happy with the way that I fought. I wish I would have worked a little bit more on my defense, and I did. My trainer Casey and my trainer Jay Wilson. The last 2 years of my career, Jay Wilson was and both of them have passed away. Now at their souls, but he worked with me on defense, on countering, and I used some of those, but at the same time, I just stuck my head right in the middle of their chest, and that's where I spent the night there until.
You did.
Yeah.
You did. It was awesome, and watching you fight, I mean, it was like that's the kind of stuff you pay for, I want to also, before we transition again, it's about the money. Well, did you make any decent kind of money in any of your fights back then? I know in kickboxing we didn't. You don't even have to even say that. We just didn't. And by the way, that's one of the things that I'm pushing for still today, and why I promote the way I promote and have these incubator programs, so that one day when the guys go pro, they can make some real money. So yes, I'm always looking for big sponsors, guys. Hey, contact me, right? So that I can give these fighters what they want. But a lot of people kind of prostitute fighters, right? They just use them, don't pay them money, don't take care of them in the right way, don't promote them and stuff. What are your thoughts on that as far as the money in the game of boxing and or kickboxing? Any thoughts?
We were talking about a while ago about my career and my injuries. I have one injury. I have a wrist injury. I have a little calcium deposit, a knot on my wrist, and it really bothers me. When I bend my wrist like this, it causes me lots of pain. Every once in a while I hit it on a wall as I'm walking by. It really hurt my wrist. So that's really the only injury that I have is a wrist injury from all those fights and all that training.
Right.
But your next question was
money, about the money in the game.
That's right.
Was that a big motivation? Was that a big motivator for you to eventually go into boxing?
So not only could I box, but I could box and make a whole lot more money than I was when I was kickboxing.
Right.
So I never made big money, six figures, nothing like that. But I did make some good money when I was boxing, and I'm thankful for that. And it was some people think that we fight because of the money. We only fight for the money. No, we fight because that's what we want to do, and that's a gift that we've been given. And I was able to make some decent money when I was boxing, and
right.
it was a blessing to do it for sure.
Now, here's one of the subjects in all that we might go a little bit over an hour, Troy, just a little bit, because I have a couple more questions. Is that okay?
Yes, sir. Let's keep going.
Okay, good. So I know this is one of your favorite subjects right now, so I want to definitely dive into this. But sometimes remember, with Johnny Davis Live is real talk, real solutions, right? Okay. So I want to talk a little bit about your faith, right?
Yes, sir.
Along the line, after you said you had an addiction problem and stuff like that. Can I have you come a little bit back to the center of your right? Yeah, more. Yeah, not too far. Right there. Yeah. Okay. But you talk about that you had some problems. You've gone through some tough times. You went through some addiction issues and things like that. And you said somewhere along the line that you found Christianity, right? Tell me about that process and what that's been like for you.
Well, what it is, I found Jesus, and Jesus, he died on the cross for our sins. All time is marked by him. It's AD, it's after his death, and it's BC before Christ. That's how all time is marked. And so my parents raised me in church. I can remember my earliest memory before my youngest brother was born was my mom giving me to the Sunday school teacher, me crying. I not wanting to be there with her. I want to be with my mommy. I want to be with my dad. So that's my earliest memory, is being at church and my mom handing me to somebody. So that's how I, they raised me in church. Church won't get you to heaven. Jesus gets you to heaven. Some people go to church and it's just a routine, but it can't be a routine. It's building a personal relationship with Jesus Christ, right, and in your heart.
Right. Let me ask you a question though. I respect anyone who's trying to live better and living a good life. What do you say to people who perhaps are not Christians? People who are Muslim, people who are Buddhist, people who have other religions and faith. Is there room for them as well? Should they be respected? Or how do you see that, Troy?
Well, Jesus' first commandment was love him, and the second commandment was love them. So that's what we have to do. We have to live that. I can't be walking around with my hands on my hips and judging this religion and that religion. I shouldn't be doing that. So our first commandment is love. So just love them to Jesus. That's it.
Right. That's a good answer there. I also want to. I'm kind of concerned, and I really get curious by this a little bit. I've got to bear along with me here because I want to get this right. Right. People who profess to be Christians.
Yes, sir.
But they hate. They don't like people because of the color of their skin. They don't like people because of their sexuality. They don't like people because of their political views. I see it on Facebook. I see people spewing, but they profess to be Christians, right? They profess to be Christ-like.
Yes, sir.
How do you gauge that as a part of your religion? Because they're out there. How do you profess? And not only that, the morality thing, where people are out there saying things, doing things, and all of that, right, that profess to be like you. How do you gauge that somehow?
Well, all I got to say is he who is out sin cast the first stone. So are you familiar with that Bible verse?
Of course.
What happened? So there was they found a woman, and she was being a prostitute. and they were gonna stone her. All the guys were around her. They were gonna stone her because she was a prostitute. These are the religious people, the Sadducees and the Sadducees. So those are the religious people back in the day, and they were gonna they were gonna stone her to death. And Jesus walked up and said, "Who is without sin? Cast the first stone." So you know what? I've messed pointing the finger. I know you've heard it. How many fingers are pointing at me now?
Right. More than the pointing at the other person.
Exactly. So the Bible takes it to another level of hate. If I say I hate somebody, that's just like I murder them. And how many of us has lied? We've all lied. We've all stolen. We've all used God's name in vain. So we've all broke all the commandments. So so I have to remember to hate the sin and love the sinner.
Got it.
That's what I
it just seems like today in this climate of racism and the COVID and politics that people seemed to have forgotten. It seems to be like an exchange. Okay, give me what I want. I don't care what kind of person you are. Just give me what I want. And if you profess in the name of Jesus or whatever, or you're a Christian, it's okay. I'll just go pray over it and I'll get what you give me. And whatever you do is okay.
Well, no, that's not it. That's not it. And it's not like, see, it's been called the revolving door of sin.
Right.
Just keep going and going and going. So we want to try to fight. We fight sin. We stand up against it. And in my own heart, I stand up against it. But I can't be pointing the finger, like I said. I can't be pushing people around. I can't be telling them you're going straight to hell because you don't believe in Jesus. I need to love on those people and encourage them to, by the way that I act. You know, our goal is to be Christ-like, and hopefully that I am in most of the time. I know I make mistakes, but hopefully that's my goal, to be Christ-like, to love them, to help them, to give them, and to hold their hand, to give them a hug, give them a kiss, whatever it may be, and to be what God has called me to be.
So do you invite and support that into your life? If you don't agree with their lifestyle, if you don't agree with their immorality, if you will, the things that they do you still support them? Or you can love them and not necessarily support them and be a part of their lives. So how do you gauge that though?
Well, I'll support them, but I won't support what they're doing and or what they're doing. And like I said, I don't want to be a finger pointer. I just want to try to love them to Jesus.
So you don't believe? I guess this is where I'm a little different, Troy. You know, people say you shouldn't judge. I think, but everybody judges, right? Yeah. Everybody judges. I judge people. I mean, you can call me what you want, right? But I judge because I'm going to make a decision. If my daughter brings a boy home, I'm going to look at him. I'm going to judge him, right? And all this. So I think that should we not be looking at that a little bit more in detail about if this person is doing something out of your line of living what you consider a good life, right? Should we still support that person?
Yeah, well, you just gotta, they have to face one day. The Bible says, one day every knee will bow and every tongue will confess that I am Jesus. So we all have to reckoning. I'm gonna have to do the same thing.
Yes,
I invite him into my heart. I work hard to live for him. And it's not. I'm not a Christian robot, though. I love. I'm not a robot. So he gave me a soul. He gave me talents. He gave me struggles. He gives it all to me.
Yeah.
And it's what I do with it is what's going to make a difference. So
go ahead, as you were finished. So
the Muslims, when you talk to them, they say they believe in Jesus. But see, they don't believe he is the Christ.
Exactly.
He's a prophet. And there are other religions that they believe that too. And some people say, so Troy, I guess you're a really religious guy. And it almost makes me cry when they think about that, when they say that, because it's not about being religious. It's about having a relationship with Jesus Christ. It's real simple. Just a relationship with Jesus Christ. That's what being a Christian is.